Well, ladies and gentlemen, the day is finally here, and there's a lot of speculation about this new 6th generation Toyota 4Runner. When are we going to start hearing stuff about it? And although Toyota isn't officially saying anything yet, we've got spy shots, people. And on 2 different occasions, this new kind of imaginary, exclusive, secret 4Runner has been seen being tested on public streets. So let's just dive into a little bit today, and I'm going to show you what I've seen and kind of get you up to speed if you haven't been following along yourself. So for starters, Car and Driver was the first place to release any kind of spy photos. They were the first ones to publish anything. And to be honest, the pictures aren't that great. They're kind of blurry, not a whole lot of detail in them, and there's really just 3 pictures. So honestly, I think we're going to leave these alone. We're going to move over to 4runner6g.com. And Car and Driver spotted the 4Runner just outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan, I believe it was, and these pictures were taken a few days later in Arizona, and these are much higher resolution. There's more to see here. So anyways, let's dig into what we can assume is the upcoming 4Runner. Finally, we've been waiting for this for 15 years now. So for starters, there's a few things that I noticed right off the bat. Actually, you know what? One sec. Let's go back to the Car and Driver pictures here for a second, because there is, in this one picture, one thing that I noticed stuck out to me quite a bit is we can clearly see a full-size spare tire hanging below in the same location as the previous 4Runners. We also see there's a lot of ground clearance here. This is clearly a body-on-frame SUV, so the fear that some people had of, you know, the 4Runner being rebranded to some kind of like a unibody crossover, I think we're in the clear there. This is obviously a body-on-frame SUV. We have quite a bit of ground clearance here. Arguably, in some pictures, it almost looks like it might be more than the new Land Cruiser. I also noticed in these kind of side shot pictures, quite a bit of like factory rake, and that might mean something, it might not. To me, I think it just shows that the vehicle that we're seeing being tested here is maybe not a super high trim model. Like, this is clearly not a TRD Pro or something like that. Maybe not even a TRD off-road. I think those trucks tend to sit a little bit more level up front. So this makes me think that maybe this is like a lower level model. Maybe there's a TRD Sport, which would be interesting. Another thing that we can see here is the wheels that are on this truck are very, very similar to the wheels that I saw on the TRD Off-Road Package Tacoma at the auto show. I would dare say almost identical even. So what does that tell us? It tells us that these are still 6-lug wheels, still very much truck-like, which is very good news. Also, it tells us that there's probably a good chance that different parts are going to be interchangeable on this generation of 4Runner and Tacoma, just like the previous generations, where, you know, on trucks like this, you can put wheels from all kinds of other Toyota trucks on them. They all fit a little bit differently, but as far as the bolt pattern goes, it's all exactly the same stuff. It's like playing Legos. And it looks like we've got Tacoma wheels essentially on a 4Runner. So that seems like it's going to continue on. So another interesting thing I'm seeing in this picture, actually, let me zoom back into this, is the angle of the A-pillar and the windshield up front. So now we're all very familiar now with the new Land Cruiser and the Lexus GX550. They're both very like straight edge, boxy looking designs, right? This, you know, my prediction in a previous video was that this is just going to be kind of one of those SUVs, but with a Tacoma front end on it. And these pictures are kind of proving me wrong, I think. I think we're seeing a very sloped windshield, which is much more similar to the Tacoma than it is to the new Land Cruiser and the GX. And so this is pointing more towards this being essentially an SUV version of the new Tacoma. And, you know, there's gonna be 2 different camps on that one. I think that's a good thing, because we've been confused about where this new 4Runner is gonna land in terms of the lineup, with now the new Land Cruiser being a smaller size vehicle that's more of a direct competitor to the 4Runner. And so to me, this kind of makes a little bit more sense, that the 4Runner is going to be a little bit more aerodynamic, a little more Tacoma-like, and then the Land Cruiser and the Lexus GX are going to be kind of paired together. Does that also mean maybe that the 4Runner is going to be a little bit more fuel efficient than the Land Cruiser and the Lexus? I don't know. I mean, it's just aerodynamics, right? Now, another big question a lot of us have, and we continue to have, is will the rear window roll down? It's such a silly thing to be worried about with a new vehicle, right? But us 4Runner owners, we know sort of the place that the roll down window has in the 4Runner heritage and the history of this truck. It's been a staple, and anybody that owns a big dog and also owns a 4Runner knows how important that is. And it's just part of the 4Runner experience. It's kind of hard to explain if you haven't driven one. We don't know for sure if the rear window is going to roll down on this new 4Runner or not, but we've got some heavy camouflage, especially on the rear end of this truck. And it seems like strategically in some of the places that people are kind of most curious about. And we'll get to more on that in a minute. We do see sort of like the bar on the sides that the 5th gen 4Runners have. Some people have said that that is a sign that this window will roll down. It's kind of carrying over that same design from the 5th gen. I would argue that the 4th gens here don't have any kind of like a big bar there, and these windows also go down. Same with the 3rd gens. We also know that manufacturers are known for putting little blocks underneath the camouflage to kind of throw people off in terms of styling and body lines and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Toyota was kind of messing with us a little bit and stuck something there to get people talking. Regardless, we still don't know for sure until we see an image with a window rolled down, but fingers crossed, and again, we riot if it doesn't go down. It's not a whole lot more here to talk about, guys, because these are just some spy shots that people kind of happen to randomly stumble upon, but there are a few more things to talk about. And much like the roll down rear window, another big staple in the history of the 4Runner is the angle of the rear C-pillar. Actually, let's head over here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Please excuse the road salt all over this thing, but this angle right here, this has been sort of a staple on the Toyota 4Runner for a very long time. The 5th gens have it, the 3rd gens, 2nd gens. I think it even started with the angle of the 1st gen window, so it's always been there. And the rumor has it from, I think it was from the guys at TFL, they claim to have an insider. Take that for what you will. But they claim that they've been told this C-pillar, this angle, is going to be straightened up a little bit more. They're claiming it's for easier access into this back door. If this door was more straight up and down, you would have a little bit more room, like where your head would go through as you're coming in and out of the back seat. But I feel like maybe it's a little bit deeper than that, and it's something that I noticed at the auto show with the new Tacoma. Some of the people were commenting on my video as well and noticing that the new Tacoma, even the double cab, it almost seems like it has less rear seat space and legroom than the outgoing 3rd gen. And when people were commenting that, I said that, you know, my best guess would be that they had to make room for hybrid batteries on these trucks. Because this is the 1st generation of Tacoma and of the 4Runner that are going to have a hybrid battery in them, and it's got to go somewhere. So typically it's going to be near the rear seat area. I'm wondering if there's going to be a taller floor or something maybe. They've got to have space for it, and on these off-road vehicles, ground clearance is very important, so it's not necessarily just going to be hanging down really low. So I feel like the reason, if Toyota does have a more straight up and down C-pillar, I feel like it is to get more access to the rear seat, but it needs more access to the rear seat because of the hybrid battery. I could be wrong. I guess time will tell. One thing's for sure, though, you can see they have some very, very heavy camouflage on the C-pillar area and the window of the rear door. Again, I think Toyota knows that we're trying to figure this out, and they're really trying to cover it up because, I don't blame them for wanting to have a big reveal. These side mirrors, people are noticing that they are very similar to the ones on the new Tacoma. Does that mean that these trucks are going to have the same mirrors? Maybe, it might, but I think also it's totally possible that Toyota's just kind of dipping into the parts bin. They got to get this thing out on the road and driving because they're working on testing things and stuff. So I think it's totally possible that they just threw some Tacoma mirrors on it to get it drivable. And maybe that's the story with the wheels as well. Maybe these are not going to be a wheel design that's going to be available on the 4Runner. Maybe they just put some Tacoma wheels on it to get it rolling. One last thing worth noting here, guys, is the exhaust is coming out of the left side, the driver's side now. And on the previous models, like the 5th gen, well, let's go for a walk again. The 5th gen and the 4th gen, both of them had, as you can see, oh, I'm in the sun. The exhaust was on the passenger side here on both the 5th gen, 4th gen. I'm not sure about the 3rd gen, but anyways, 5th gen and 4th gen are very similar. Same V6 in them. But we're seeing on this test vehicle that, oh man, I am just really throwing the camera all over the place. You guys good? You all right? I should have told you guys to put a helmet on before I filmed this. Are you comfy? Okay. We can see on the test vehicle that the exhaust is coming out the left. Now, one thing I noticed at the auto show is that the exhaust on the new Tacoma is also on the driver's side. And so we don't have any actual for sure confirmation on this, but that's just another thing that hints towards the new 4Runner sharing the same drivetrain as the new Tacoma. It just makes sense. It does look like it's going to be I think it's the 2.4 liter 4-cylinder, and it's a turbocharged engine from the Tacoma and the Land Cruiser, and also probably a hybrid. I think that's also a pretty safe bet. That's kind of, I guess if you're not a fan of the modern stuff, that's the downside. The upside is if they're going to take that whole drivetrain over from the Tacoma, that might also mean that we get a 6-speed manual in a 4Runner. And we haven't had a manual transmission in one of these things for, man, I don't know, since like the earlier years of the 3rd gen, I guess. Yeah, aside from that, I think we're pretty much up to speed. We don't know much. We just have some spy shots. And Toyota is very much keeping it under wraps right now. They obviously don't want us to know too much. Comment below on what you think about these spy shots. Is there anything that I missed that you noticed in these pictures that is worth pointing out? And let me know what you think. And I will keep you guys posted. I know I promised that whenever I hear something or see something about the new 4Runner, I will let you guys know. And I'm a little bit behind on this one, but I'll try to stay up to date on this. So stay tuned on the channel if you want to learn more about these 4Runners. Also, stay tuned if you want to learn about these old ones too, because I would argue they're pretty awesome. Bye.